Cool. We are back. That's right. The Bullish podcast on Earth. Let's say on Earth. The four Bs. Mr. Orlin, aka the $1 trillion man, Dr. Evil 10%, aka the People's Champ, myself, Sir Neverlook, aka the Excellence of Execution, and surprise, surprise, no Mrs. No Show. In fact, I've hardly heard from Mrs. No Show. What's going on?
Yeah, I think I've already told you, I'm not sure. Yeah, I think it was last week, but our YouTube channel is nearly deleted now. So for anyone listening on YouTube, just make the most of it. But we can't even put links in our description. We don't do shorts, but we can't do shorts. We don't live stream, but if we did live stream, now we can't. You know, we can pretty much just upload. I'm pretty sure those uploads are now shadow banned. So unless you're a previous listener, I don't think any new listeners will ever get recommended this channel. So
Wow,
we're
didn't
on
know that.
Spotify and Rumble as well. So there are other places, but I think YouTube is coming to an end. It'll be a bit sad, really. We've got
So we
177.
can't even get links in the description anymore. I
No,
missed that one.
yeah, I
What
can.
was that about? What had you said on a previous show?
Weirdly, they gave literally no reason for this one. It came out of the blue. Because obviously they flagged a couple of episodes and specific sections in it, which is great because you're like, okay, at least I know what you're talking about. And in both instances, I think one was on the NHS episode
No.
and it was him talking about the NHS. So you go, okay, I can see how that is offensive, but it's just his opinion. Like I don't, so whatever. And then the other one was on that little video that I put in that was just from when
Oh
you
yeah.
comedy show that talked about how
Yes.
the world's made up and it's all the elites and da 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 da.
Classic.
And that clip I got from YouTube, put it just at the beginning of ours, and that was our second strike. And then this one, there was nothing explicit. It just went, I think it was basically just continued bad behavior. You're not contributing
Was it
positively.
you being a climate change denier, a vaccine denier, and
Don't,
whatever else denier you are?
probably, but I don't know why that would affect my YouTube because I don't really do that on YouTube, other than it on this show, obviously. But normally, if they've got a problem with something I've said, they'll tell me at least the episode, and
Hmm.
usually as well this section, and then they never give you an opportunity just to remove it either. They just go, "You're having a strike. We've taken it down." And yeah, you're restricted for a little bit. But this one was very strange. It just went continued bad behavior. Like, how do you address this? And it basically just went adhere to our guidelines for a continued stretch of time. Nothing.
Bloody hell, I'm just having a look at the shows and what's near the top. And the top is still obviously Bitcoin Elite meme song.
Yeah.
And then you've got a Sailor one, which is quite high from 9 months ago. I think it's when we must have boomed up to 50K when the ETS caused the price hike. Then you've got SBF. There was one Choose Bitcoin Train Spotting Edition from 3 weeks ago.
Hmm.
That's boomed up. So I'm wondering if that's caused it because that's quite high.
That's not offensive.
You must have put something in there which is offensive, don't you?
It's not. It's literally nothing.
So I think that was just
And
you two as well, that one.
that isn't flagged or anything. It's flagged for copyright, clearly, because I've ripped off a song. So I can never make any money off that. But I'm not looking to do that. I'm just looking to make a meme. So
I say you're $1 trillion man. You don't need to make money off this.
well, how many views has it got? Like 400 now or something. Whoa, that could be at least 20 cents or something.
Oh, sorry, I'm getting mixed up. It's not an episode, is it? It's just the song.
Hmm.
That one. Yeah, sorry. And then it's SBF. It's like loads of
That was the
SBFs.
one.
I think I've caught it again is episode 119, Guilty on All Charges. One of my favorite covers of the show. It's just SBF with a picture of, I can't remember her name. Is it Caroline?
Caroline, yeah. Caroline something.
You share your screen.
Yeah, he's in his prison cell.
I'm not there right now.
I just sorted on, so I'll drop it into the chat for you to share.
Okay.
That's probably my favorite cover because it's just. I mean, we're still what are we 2-3 years later, and we're still waiting for the hot sex video as well, which we were promised.
Hopefully that is is somewhere in the dark, dark, deep depths of the nether regions, never to come out. Jesus.
There it is. Yeah.
Unless he's got it in his vault, and that's what's going to make him his millions once again.
I mean,
he's finally.
I just don't understand what kind of like possessed you to make that cover. Bottle down of whiskey, just decide that I'm going to make that.
Yeah, no, it was inspired.
I mean, that's surely a strike by itself, isn't it?
You know what?
That's in the day.
Ralph's got 100 views as well.
Yeah, it's a good little episode, that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was in the days before AI as well. So
yeah,
I actually used to spend quite a lot of time on our covers because I'd have to actually design it.
Whilst drunk in the middle of the night.
Yeah, sometimes I could barely see the screen. I'm not even joking. So it's like sometimes I literally would have to shake my head and try and focus at 3 screens. I'm like, where's the real one? Come on, I need to get this edit done.
Yeah, this was before you'd moved sometimes as well, of course.
Yeah. And now with AI, it's so easy. It's just, yeah, your thumbnail will probably used to take me half an hour, probably at least. Now it takes me a couple of minutes. So just fire up AI, bang in what I want. Within 3 or 4 goes, I've got it. And I just shove our little 4B stuff on it, put a number on it, save it. There it is. Literally 5 minutes done. Some of those thumbnails, I think that one probably specifically, it might have taken as long as an hour. Sometimes I'd really freaking put some effort in. But now,
right. Do you know what? You've also got a video now which will probably get knocked off YouTube because I think it's actually worth showing this one to actually go to the show notes. Because it's a great little video, isn't it? I think it's worth showing in order to get people onto that one.
Yeah, go on, just intro it so people know what they're about to see.
So this is about the creation of the Federal Reserve, and obviously it's got a little bit of a slant on this one. It may or may not be the way which they described it, but it's certainly the way which it operates.
Yeah.
Here it is.
Jekyll Island, November 1910. 7 bankers meeting in secret to create America's central bank. We just can't call it that. The 1907 panic nearly destroyed us. Banks failed, fortunes vanished. We want to control America's money supply, create booms, trigger busts, and profit from both. And how will we do that? We'll create money from nothing, loan it to the government, and charge interest. Legal counterfeiting, my friends. But there's a cost. Every dollar we print steals value from existing dollars. It's a hidden tax that flows directly to us. And it gets worse. If we ever get off the gold standard, governments can print money for wars. Endless wars become possible and profitable. Since Americans hate central banks, we'll call it the Federal Reserve. Sounds governmental, doesn't it? It's not. The president will appoint board members, but we'll pick who he appoints. We'll have 12 regional banks. Looks decentralized, democratic even, but New York banks control them all. That's us. You're probably wondering how we're going to get this through Congress. December 23rd, 1913. Most of Congress home for Christmas. Perfect timing for passing unpopular legislation. I'll publicly oppose our own bill in Congress. They'll pass it thinking they beat Wall Street. We'll fund university chairs, write the textbooks. They'll teach our system as economic science. Beautiful. Every American born after this will inherit debt on money we created from nothing. Generational servitude. The Federal Reserve. Not federal, no reserves. But everyone will think it's their government protecting them.
Good afternoon.
So we probably covered this many episodes ago when we talked about the creature of Jekyll Island. In terms of like a very long book, I remember on Audible it's around about 24 hours, given a full total. But essentially, the Fed is, or the Federal Reserve, for those that don't know, is where America borrows money from and keeps its nation afloat and continues to borrow its
But
debt.
but where does the money come from?
Don't ask. Yeah.
And then who actually pays that loan? And then where does the interest go? It just makes no sense whatsoever. Like you can talk about bonds, but we know that countries now aren't funded by bonds, and historical documents made us very aware that countries were never funded by bonds because they bought their own bonds. So literally a country prints its own money and buys that money with its own money and then pays itself interest or pays some other people that interest.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a nonsensical, but there's really good punchline in this one. I think it's right towards the end. The Federal Reserve, not federal, and no reserves.
Yeah.
That was literally my exact comment because I actually first saw this, of all places, LinkedIn. And it's from Marty, so Marty Bent, who runs Tales from the Crypt podcast, big Bitcoiner. So he created that ad. Apparently cost him $100 to advertise it and basically create it through AI, post it on his own LinkedIn account. And that was my comment, was I love that quote that the Federal Reserve is not federal nor has any reserves. But then you look at the rest of the comments in there, especially obviously with the LinkedIn crowd. You got one guy in particular really just writing very long, what I can only assume are AI generated responses to why the Federal Reserve absolutely is not as bad as they say it is. It's absolutely essential it is run the way it is. And we're all completely wrong. And Bitcoin is the scam, not the Federal Reserve. And you just kind of go.
I think you dropped that into the group and said read the comments.
Yeah.
And it's a guy who says, nice try with the narrative propaganda. I've studied the inception of the Federal Reserve in depth, read the books, include The Creature from Jekyll Island, done the research. And you kind of go, I don't think you have. Because if you really knew what it was, you know how bad this is and how it's failed in the past with different iterations, whether it be coin clipping, whether it be paper money in China. And then it's just, I agree, but revamping, blah, 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 blah. And it's word salad, but when he says the cryptoverse isn't interested in having a real discussion. And my comment to that was the Matrix is a system, Neo. That system is our enemy. But when you're inside, you look around, what do you see? Businessmen, teachers, lawyers, carpenters, the very minds of the people we're trying to save. But until we do, these people are still a part of that system, what makes them our enemy. You have to understand most of these people are not ready to be unplugged. And many of them are so inert, so hopeless dependent on the system that they will fight to protect it. Yeah. And that is literally says it all like this, but this video, brilliant, and you can't argue against it. You kind of go, this is how the system works to a T. And it's almost like they designed it, maybe not with those words, but they're creating money from nothing. They loan it to the government and charge interest. But like I said, it's not backed by anything. It's meaningless. How has it got power? It's got power by jail, by taxes, by prison. But who's getting that interest? So it's sure as shit as at the bondholders because there aren't enough of them.
Yeah, and the nuts thing about people disagreeing with this video, the video is largely a factual representation of just what happened. Even if you talk to people that are economists or long-term financial politicians, they would agree with that video, by and large. They wouldn't agree with the sentiment. They would go, it's not as negative as that. It's actually got much, if you look at where the world was in 1971 and where it is today, they would say the reason we have lots of the new inventions we have is because of this printed money that was deployed by people much smarter than the plebs. And the fact they kept some from themselves is by the by. They deployed capital wisely, and now we have the internet, we have electric cars, we've been to the moon, all that kind of crap.
But every person who was born now will inherit that debt.
Exactly.
and they are brought into that generation of servitude. So literally, your house is no longer 2 times salary of a single person. It's now 4 to 6 times a couple.
Yeah. But
And it's just like you've got to work in order to own that house. But by the time you've owned that house, you won't be able to afford to live. You won't be able to afford to retire.
Yeah.
You're pretty much a slave now.
because I'm tempted to do my own version of this, because my version now we can get conspiracy on it. I would layer in loads of conspiracy on top of this, because there was many people that were against the creation of the Federal Reserve. Number one, the president, who at the time was JFK. We all know what happened to him. He tried to pull it in his head.
Well, JFK, sorry, I'm lost on that one because JFK was in the 60s. The Federal Reserve was created in the 1910s.
Well, no, when that was coming off the gold standard. Sorry, the Federal Reserve actually, yeah, that's the Titanic, and then later coming off the gold standard is the JFK.
You've got 1912, the Fed was created. Then it goes to the Bretton Woods Agreement, and it goes to the Federal Reserve being created, and then there's another one in the 40s when they take the gold from the world and say we'll look after it for you, and then it's the 70s to come off the gold standard. But it's literally very sequential, and obviously, you can come up with all kinds of
well, it's the Titanic one that is massive in this, because there was a number of bankers and high up politicians that were on the Titanic, and many of the people that created the Federal Reserve were also supposed to be on the Titanic, but cancelled last minute and did not get on. But there was 3 key individuals that were staunchly against the creation of the Federal Reserve. They just so happen to keep their tickets for the Titanic, get on it, and then sink. They die. So the vote then happens a number of weeks or months later without those 3 people in it, and it gets passed. So there's a lot of dirty tactics, that went into this, and a lot of people that were around that were good people could see the damage this was going to do in the future by creating this random unelected bureaucracy that has such power, the power to create money out of thin air. It is the most powerful institution that you have, even above military, because you can only have a military outfit if it can be funded. You need to pay people, and this is a building that creates money. You can do anything from this company now, any amount of good or bad or corruption. And there was many people against it. They knew where it would end up. They knew it would go bad. Obviously, it was all created in the early times there's always a good reason. There's famines, wars. We're just going to create this for a little bit, print some money, get us out of a problem. But
it's also literally, it's the whole thing about Keynes is, I can't be asked dealing with this now. Let someone else deal with it. That is the most simple and nicest way of actually talking about this type of monetary theory. Is like, I cannot be bothered dealing with this. Let someone else deal with this. So literally, you're throwing this all down to your kids and throw it down to your grandkids because you can't be asked taking the discipline to deal with it right now. And in its worst case, it is pure corruption, as we're saying. And I believe it's the worst case. I don't think there's any doubt, which it can't be. It's just too convenient. Let's come off the gold standard. We can print what we want, and also we can siphon off money when we want. Then we start going, well, what excuses can we have? Wars, lockdowns, whatever you want is an excuse now to print, isn't it?
Yeah.
We got an influx of migrants. We need to print because we need to find somewhere for them to stay and food to feed them. Whatever we want.
And because of this, people are obviously looking to leave certain countries that have these crazy inflation, try and leave their Western countries, but they know that. So our next story is about European citizens to pay global taxes. So it
seems only fair, but you've got to pay your fair share.
So basically, America already has this. Interestingly, if you're born in America and you leave for a number of years after you leave, and I think it might even be forever. If you are in a country that basically has very, very low taxes, then they will take the taxes you didn't pay. So let's say a country has 10% tax on income. But if you were an American, your tax would have been 50%. They go, well, that of a
But
thought.
if you're in that, but if you're in that kind of like bracket, sure, you can just go, well, fuck your citizenship.
You can't relinquish it technically, even if it's lifetime taxes. There's lifetime. So basically, and because I know this because obviously I went there and met a load of Americans. There's only a few loopholes. So going to Puerto Rico because it's in the American jurisdiction, they don't count that as a tax haven because it's within America. Even
So
though
it's also another county on the mainland where they pay bugger all income tax.
yeah, so they're their loopholes. But if you go off to a private island, so we know Roger Ver, right, was American. I think he lives in Japan now, and he's lived there for like 5, 7 years or something. And it was things last year, the year before, they went after him for tax evasion on income that he had after he left. And I think the latest news is he's still in prison awaiting trial for tax evasion on money he earned when he was not in America. And he gave up his American citizenship as well.
It's just a bit ridiculous, isn't it? You kind of realize how corrupt it is
Yeah,
when a
you're
country
right.
which you just happen to be born in is trying to extract more tax from you. It's
Yeah.
like maybe we haven't got a problem with tax, maybe we got a problem with spending.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe we
according
need a little bit more heroin.
Well, the
yeah,
basic
according to them, he evaded nearly 50 million in taxes. Really, they just want their cut of the pie because he made it big on approximately 131,000 Bitcoin.
yeah, but you know, he moved away from America to avoid that tax.
Yeah,
And the problem is they'll go, well, tax avoidance is a crime. So yeah, and obviously if they got 50 million to go after, it's worth spending a couple of million. And they went and got him. They extradited him and got him. So obviously America are already like this, but here we are. This is moving closer to our home, France, Netherlands, and Spain. So France are basically saying, if you move to a region as taxed 50% lower than us, then we're going to top it up. The Netherlands have proposed a new exit tax if you leave the country to pay income.
But this is so they can bring in all the wealth taxes, which Norway did, which didn't work, and everyone fucking left.
This is what they're closing the door on, isn't it? Right. So
Yeah.
if you're in Netherlands, you got to pay the same taxes for 5 years after you leave. In Spain, it's 4 years after you leave. And Germany, Norway, and the UK are also looking at this. And so back in the olden days, right, when in freaking Roman times and the old Chinese, the kind of dynasties, they literally close borders, stop ships from leaving, just basically close the gates when the economy was crashing because they know how important that if an economy is crashing and the people leave, you're doomed. Because you're never going to get back because you need people to be investing their time and energy in creating commerce within.
Well, we've got this propaganda at the moment. Pay what you what do they call it? It's pay what you should. Not quite that, but there's a phrase which they use, and there's some proper propaganda going around paying your taxes. And then also it's wealth tax. Those are the two bits of propaganda going around because they're trying to embed these so people will vote them in. Like Government Gary keeps on with the wealth propaganda, and it's literally like, if you put in front of anyone, they'd rip them apart within about 2 minutes because it's just a pile of hot air.
But
so I've just quickly looked. Closest for us would be Portugal, where you'd have to become a tax resident for more than 183 days in order to not pay any taxes on your crypto gains.
yeah, but that's all overwritten by this.
Yeah.
So this is the problem, right? So at the moment, right, there's loads of tax havens, right, that we could leave to right now, and provided we don't come back to the UK,
Yeah.
you wouldn't need to pay any taxes. The UK have already closed the loop on. It used to be you could literally live here, leave for a year, basically spend no days in the UK, basically offload a load of assets in a foreign country that has no cap gains or no income tax. Basically sell 5 million quid's worth of stuff, let's just say, pay zero tax on it, stay the whole year there, then come back. So in that tax year, that profit and income is nothing to do with the UK. That used to be the case if you go back about 30 years. They closed that gap and basically went, no, I think it's a 4 or 5 year period that during that time when you leave, if you come back within 4 or 5 years, everything that you have, basically any income, any cap gains, they can look at them retrospectively and go, we want our slice. And they completely reserve the right to say that that will definitely happen or not. In some cases it will, in others it won't. It's probably based on the value. But this is basically going, no. That we're not just going to say even 5 years. We're basically going, even if you leave, right? You leave for Portugal forever, right? Or you leave to El Salvador forever. Clearly the taxes are going to be much more favorable. So they're basically saying at least 4 or 5 years of you living in that country, any income or gains that you get, we still want our money guaranteed, even if you don't
top of the tax which you're paying in that country.
Yeah, regardless of that, like we want our tax.
Well, all I can say on this one is the Americans revolted for a lot less when it was a 2% tax on tea. Here we are getting taxed 50-60%, and we're still taking it and not throwing the tea into the sea.
And that was when people still had passion. It was before the money printer. The money printer was impoverished, and then the media has feminized men. We've all got chicks with dicks these days.
I was going to say after this week, we're going to certainly get taken down. You're throwing up the conspiracy theories.
That's nothing, man. Nothing. So what do we do? So the good thing is we're Bitcoiners, right? So fuck tax rules.
I like this a lot.
This is a proper prison safe little device, right? So here's MicroSeed. So you buy a little kit off this guy. It's a hammer, some stamps, some little holder to keep everything in line, and basically some washers. So that's all it is.
You put it inside that cube, don't you? So in that cube you put it in, and then you've got the ability to hammer in the letters or numbers. So like, you can put in your secret word. So for anyone who doesn't really know what the hell we're talking about, for a ledger you can either use a passcode and a ledger, so you got device, or you can use a seed phrase, which can be 12 or 24 words. So this is off, what's the list called?
Bitmap.
Bit
20, yeah.
I always forget what it's called, but basically every word, it's the first 4 letters which a ledger is looking for. But there's a whole bit 39. But it's also got corresponding numbers. So if you were ever to do this, my recommendation wouldn't be to do the actual words. So obviously it's going to take a lot of time. It would be to actually use the number within the order. And then it'll be a lot easier to put on, and also it has a little bit of encoding just for anyone who doesn't quite know what they're looking at.
Correct.
Yeah, there's the numbers.
So there's your number. So in binary, it's binary? Yeah, it's binary. So zeros or ones. And so the one on the far right is your ones, and then it goes up to, what was it? 1,000.
No, I think it's 2048 or something like that.
Yeah, I just thought this was really, really neat because it's so small. Whereas you can, on the bigger pieces of steel, they were probably about this big. And then the tiny seed moved down to quite a small one as well. And this is the size of a washer. And I think in the video which I watched on the website, you can literally just hide it behind somewhere, pin it on something. It's just so hard to find.
Yeah. So 2048 unique English words used in the creation of cryptocurrency seed phrases. So bit 39.
Yeah, and obviously this is super good because obviously if we do end up leaving the country, right, at some point, we don't want to get because who knows what the taxation will be at that point, right? We're clearly
Correct.
for a reason. We're currently living through 50% taxes plus 20% VAT, fucking sales taxes, fucking
Yeah,
council.
plus indirect, so really you're probably on 90% plus taxes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is nuts, right? We're currently sat here going, it's okay, it's livable on 90%, right? So when it gets a bit higher and it gets to 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, it's going to get to the point where you go, right, this is non-sustainable now. Every pound I earn, I keep 1 pence of it. This is
Yeah.
completely insane. I could be earning £1 million and I get 1,000. Well, what's going on? So were you going to leave? And obviously
Well,
everything.
yeah, just that one because people probably think you're going over the top on that. The theory behind this is you got £1,000 off your million, and we're like, oh yeah, you can spend that. You got £1,000, that's loads of money. But a Mars bar costs £100 by that point, it's inflation. So literally, you got tax on that one. You got the inflationary tax. Then you've also got corporation tax on that Mars bar. You got VAT on that Mars bar. You've got employers tax on everyone who makes that Mars bar. Employees tax. You've got national insurance and all the employees. When you think indirect off all those, and you're literally going the amount of value which is flowing through the market on second, third, fourth is absolutely minuscule because it's all going to the tax box, isn't it?
Yeah. And so you're leaving, it's 99% taxation now. Everything in the official financial world is tracked, right? The UK government will know everything about it. Your Bitcoin ETF, they know. Your pension pot, they know. Your stocks and shares, they know. The cash in the bank, they know. Oh, but it's okay. You've got some American bank money. They know about it. They know about everything that's in the financial system.
And they also know your porn choices.
Well, they definitely,
Yeah.
what are they?
Yeah.
To a certain extent, they also probably know how much Bitcoin you've got because you've probably been buying it on KYC exchanges. However, when it comes to it, they don't know where it is, and if you refuse to pay your taxation, they'll freeze all your official financial accounts will get frozen instantly. That money will get seized just to pay whatever tax bill. So you'll be forced to pay it basically via force. But in Bitcoin, you won't. And well, how do you get it out of the country? They might scan you. They might find your ledger or your Jade. Well, this is just a washer, a little washer. Put that in your hand luggage. Yeah, it'll beep, but there'll be something metal in your hand luggage. It doesn't matter. It's a washer that'll be hidden in the lining or whatever. Put it in, hide it in a million different places in your hand luggage, and have like 5 of them anyway. 4 decoys, one that's real, and you can get this through the country through borders easily, and then you pop up the other place, fire that into a brand new device, buy a new device over there, fire it in, and now there you go. You have access to your funds, and you can trade freely. And especially if we're going somewhere like El Salvador, we don't need to sell our Bitcoin, do we? Well, we're living on a Bitcoin standard. Everyone will be buying and selling things in sats. We're good. We're good.
And after that rendition, that's how we got cancelled, telling you how to internationally smuggle cryptocurrency. But you're right. You're absolutely right in terms of it. But this is why we've always said it's so good because we've seen when things go sour and there's wars and all of a sudden you need to get up and get out. We're talking about the positive of, right, we've agreed we're going to pack up and leave because we can't take it anymore. But for those that don't have a choice, then this is also a real legitimate reason of how to carry your wealth across borders. Started watching a podcast actually that is about creating wealth with no borders, but I kind of have a grievance to it because she never talks about cryptocurrency. She talks about investing, angel investing. It talks about setting up property in other jurisdictions. So she lives between London, Dubai, and Johannesburg in South Africa. But never once has she had on anyone that talks about Bitcoin. And I just think you're clearly missing a point. But I kind of get why she misses a point, and she's quite young as well. She's 27. Is the fact that she was a banker and used to work for Goldman Sachs, so she's naturally trained in that mindset of, cryptocurrency or Bitcoin is just bad, which is a shame.
It sounds like you should share with her this next story. Because here we are, our favorite topic, Bitcoin and property, going head to head yet again. So Bitcoin
I
at
wonder who creates this agenda.
30. So here we are, Bitcoin at 30K in 2021. Our Bitcoin's pumped a lot. You should diversify and buy some real estate. And then Bitcoin at 120K in 2025. Now it's the time to secure your gains by buying a property. Following this investment advice from your no-coiner friends can cost you a lot of money. If you bought a 300K apartment in 2021, you missed out on 900K in Bitcoin gains. The opportunity cost of staying out of Bitcoin is brutal. Would you rather rent an apartment for $1,500 a month or lose 900K in 4 years? Ask yourself the right question. And the next
I
one.
took that personally. The classic Michael Jordan. I took that personally.
Yeah. Well, exactly. These are all for you, bro. All for you.
Thank you.
Here's one of your heroes. So clearly, like Bull Bitcoin, this is a Bitcoin exchange, right? So clearly they're going to be very bullish on Bitcoin. So it's a little bit biased. But this is Ray Dalio. I found this today. I don't know if you've seen this clip yet. But here is Ray being interviewed by some boomer property guy.
He's a big interviewer. I've seen him quite a number of times. Yeah. Big investor, and he interviews all the top guys. So yeah.
But basically, I will put the video in here.
Throughout history, there have been two things that people have always wanted as a source of wealth. One was gold, and then real estate. And what do you think about, if you're nervous about paper currency and the valuation of it, why not just buy real estate and hold on to it? Is that not a good idea?
It's not a good idea.
No.
It's not a good idea because real estate is more interest rate sensitive than it is even inflation sensitive. So if you were to say, if this environment happens, does it go? It goes down in real terms. It's also an asset that is a fixed asset that is the easiest asset to tax. In other words, you in any place, you're in a particular state, putting in real estate taxes means that they could always get the money. And so it's not an effective diversifier that way. And also being able to move money from one place to another, the real estate is nailed down.
But essentially what you just watched is basically Ray being asked, I think what he thinks is a softball question, which is, isn't property a great thing to diversify into when inflation is as bad as it is? And he just goes, no, it really isn't. Property is actually more like affected by things like interest rates. So, because obviously high interest rates just mean no one can mortgage or buy property, right? Low interest rates suddenly allow people to come in. And so depending on how high or low interest rates are completely dictates the price of property, because it affects the demand hugely, doesn't it? You got 0% interest rates, demand goes sky high. Everyone can suddenly now buy a house for the value that it's at and get very low mortgage rates. But if the interest rates are high, then no one can get on the ladder. The debt, the interest that you will pay on the house that you want to buy is just so astronomically high that you can't even afford the monthly repayments, never mind if I live long enough to pay it off. So that's basically his point by going. And also the point that I love is that it's a fixed asset and it's very easy to tax. So obviously Ray Dalio is the author of the fourth turning, which he thinks we're in, right? There's four turnings of the world. It's basically what is it? It's the hard times create strong men, and then strong men create good times create weak men, and weak men create bad times create good men and strong men, and it goes round and round. It's basically a wheel that you go round and round and round. And his theory is that we're in the last quadrant, which is we've had the good times, it's time for bust. We're basically full now of the good times have created weak men, which causes societal collapse. That's where we are. We are currently being run by weak men. We have weak men throughout our society. Everyone's basically got things too easy. You know, everyone's got a mobile phone. Everybody's got Sky Internet and Sky Football on their TVs. Yet they say they're poor and still going on their holidays to Spain every year. Da, da, da. So supposedly we're doing the least out of probably multiple generations, but we have it the easiest. But we're currently in the point where we're running out of runway and we're starting the decline of, hold on. You know, the fact that half our population work for the government and the other half work in DEI roles, making sure people's skin color, genitals, and what fucking cat they like are all equal across the board. You know, these jobs are not real. You're not meaningfully forwarding society, creating goods and services that people want. You know, and that is a huge problem. And what will happen in the fourth turning is that you have complete collapse, and then everybody has to get a real fucking job. We have hard times, and all these weak people have to go into real fucking jobs, work their asses off for every penny. But what that does is the children that come out of that fucking learn how to grind and work freaking hard, and basically they create the next version of the world, which is much brighter. And then a couple of generations further down, it's all been rebuilt, and then they fuck it up, basically just as we have this time around. Yeah, we're the generation that essentially got lazy and fucked it, but it's not all down to us, right? Because as we started this show with, it's the Federal Reserve that is really doing that. You know, that's all started, 100 years ago, and then coming off the gold standard 50 years ago. But yeah, so if you're trying to ride out the fourth turning and the collapse of society, he's pretty much going, well, would you invest in real estate? And he's like, hell no. Because of course, during the collapse, interest rates are going to go sky high. Taxation on property is going to go sky high. And also, real estate, you can't move the countries, can you? You can't pick a house up and put it somewhere else. So if you're going to flee from the UK because the taxes are too high and move to El Salvador, you can't get your house out, can you? If taxes are 99%, to get the house out, you have to sell the house at 99% taxation. You can take your 1% with you, but probably wasn't the smartest investment decision. So can't believe he's just dipped off. His kids had just probably woken him up. But there's two stories to yet again say anybody that thinks gold or property is a sensible diversification away from Bitcoin or away from the existing financial system collapsing. Here's Ray Dalio, who's one of the most respected investors in the world, basically telling you, no, it's not. It's basically Bitcoin or nothing. And here's yet another guy who's very, very well respected, basically predicting what Bitcoiners have said for the last 15 years, which is we are on the precipice of a societal collapse via a distrust in the money, and that will cause hyperinflation. And once the money collapses, well, basically 50% of people are currently employed by governments around the world. They will not be employed anymore because the governments have no money to pay them.
Well, this is the Argentina model, isn't it? They literally got rid of a third of the government employees, was it half? And it seems to be going back into prosperity. So I think once this becomes a bit more evident, because at first it's like, oh, look at them, it's terrible, it's terrible. It's like the first year was just based upon the inflation of the previous regime, whereas now it seems to settle into record GDP. employment, lowering debt, and all the other kind of like good metrics. And it hopefully will be a measure for the world of what you should actually be doing. There's also been rumors about banning printing of money in Argentina, which would be great. So, I said it earlier, you talked about the weak men. Strong men make good times make weak men make harsh times. And literally, this is it. He's making the good times, but we've had the good times before, maybe ruined by the weak men who wanted the reward for themselves. Or, like I said, in the best possible case, it's going, I can't be arsed dealing with this issue. I'm going to let my children pay for it. And that's what inflation is.
Yeah. Because that would be the only sensible way that both basically Europe and America, than to make a serious way out of it and to stop the fourth turning happening this time and be like, oh, this time it's different, is they would need to cut their government spending by at least half. At least. And they can't.
And just they need to go back on a hard standard. So, like, I don't really like gold, but even the gold standard would be better than what we're on.
But that basically is the same thing, right? If they went to a gold standard, they would have to probably cut their government spending by 90%. So they.
I think it'd be more like 50%. So you kind of think we make regulations in order to make departments important.
They print trillions a year.
But you kind of think the inflation
There's only
on a CPI. Inflation usually is what? Is it 2%, 2 to 3% is a range?
They lie.
But in reality, it's 10%. And the actual printing, because they basically use wages to bring it down and technological advances, it's probably way beyond the 10%. So you kind of go, they're overspending by what is it? Well, they're making 20% extra debt, then you have to work out what their spend is per year. And if the debt is, what is it, GDP of about 120%, then you can kind of go, well, they're over exceeding by, I don't know, what would it be? Say, I guess 10% or something like that on their spend. So I think reality, they could cut by 50% and cut half the nonsense taxes. So you kind of think with tax too much, you're not getting economic prosperity anymore. There's no advances because everyone's just working to live. No one's looking to make the next invention anymore. They're posting their Instagram videos, TikToks, and making shit coins to make a quick buck.
Yeah.
Anyway,
The gold.
Good timing, kids.
Yeah, I know. So I'm just looking at the gold market cap in relation to the world GDP, and it's 16%, and that's actually high. Back in 2000, it was only 4%, bizarrely. I don't know why. Gold is now, bizarrely, it's actually on the increase. It's been on a steady increase of...
Yeah, the last month or so, it's been booming. But, you know, we talk about, it can't peg, blah, blah, blah. But the fact is,
but
peg whatever you want.
It's 16%. So therefore, that is 84% decline. If you were to peg global governments to gold, that means you have to assign every single piece of gold, which, by the way, you can't. I think it's like 20 or 30% of the gold is not stored.
Yeah.
But basically, it's in jewelry, it's in computers, it's in all that kind of stuff. So you've only got about 80% of it left.
But what I'm trying to say is, you need something to peg them against, or you move on to a standard where they cannot inflate it, like Bitcoin.
Yeah, but you can't just make shit up, can you? Like, you got to peg it to something. So if it's not gold, it's like, well, what is it? Because if it's anything that they can just create more of, then it hasn't worked, does it? You
gold, the danger is that, well, there's all the paper gold. Yeah. There's also the gold floating around on asteroids, and also the gold which got discovered in Zambia, but then it went really quiet.
Yeah. But yeah, so basically today, if they were to peg the global governments to gold, they would have to find 84% savings across the board. Otherwise,
but then you end up
paper gold.
But if you do start paying something like gold, you just recalculate the cost of gold. It just go up 10x. Literally, you just need a stake.
I think people have probably been hoping for that, knowing that as well, in terms of the gold bugs. thinking that eventually it's going to come back to this.
But I don't think you can use it. I say it'd be better than what we are, but I just don't think you can use it anymore.
It would be better than what we are. I mean, and whilst we would love it, I can't see them going for Bitcoin before going to gold. I think they'd make the mistake with gold again and then think about Bitcoin, realizing, well, yeah, it's the best thing, but then not without making some form of mistake before.
Their plan clear what they're doing now, right? It's all going one direction. It's just global socialism and communism where they essentially I think they're perfectly fine with hyperinflating all current currencies, making every single owner of those currencies, whether it be in pensions, stocks, or cash, completely bankrupt and go to zero, and then create a new CBDC, which will be given out by governments via a benefit system that, provided you are abiding by the law, contributing to a job, you will get a set amount of funds into your little crypto wallet, CBDC, that, spend it in the right place, not too much carbon, not too much meat, right? And it's just, that is the direction. That is their current solution. That every single piece of evidence that we have as to where they think this is going, because they're not stupid. They know they're about to collapse. And that's where all the authoritarian controls are coming from. And that's where this leads. They're not looking to fix it and peg it to something. There's nobody suggesting any of that in a Western country. It's all these little third world countries that have gone bust and everyone's starving already. The only solution they then have is to actually fix the problem, because they don't have this massive, big kind of.
Argentina's been hyperinflation for 50 years.
Yeah,
I'm saying, Malays failed, and it's just like, Jesus Christ, you do not realize what the situation was before. They couldn't produce shit because they had to have price controls. They put a price control which no one could meet, so they didn't have any product. But anyway, should we go positive? Next story.
Let's do it.
So on this thread, Grok's being asked, what is the best possible investment? And Grok, of course, much to our pleasure. So this is over 10 years, picks Bitcoin. And it comes up with $1 million by 2035. So 10 years, boys and girls. Can we hold on that long?
Well, it's going to be $1 million in 10 years, but it doesn't just go up. It doesn't stay at 100K for 9 years, does it? And then jump.
I could do with $1 million happening tomorrow.
I was going to say, whilst I love the appreciation in 10 years, can we just half that, please? But I'll take tomorrow.
Yeah, I did like the fact that basically Grok kind of outsources it. He references experts forecast. So he just went, no, that's not what I asked for. I don't care what the experts say. What do you think based on all the information available? And he goes, my reasoning, global debt and inflation erode fiat value. Bitcoin's fixed supply of 21 million and halvings create scarcity. Institutional inflows via ETFs and potential national reserves will drive demand, targeting 10 to 15 times growth by 2035 amid economic uncertainty. So it's everything we've just discussed, isn't it? You've got all this taxation, you got people fleeing, you got just basically chaos in any Western well-to-do country. We're used to things being pretty stable and going, it's going to be fine. Like, do I see myself leaving in this lifetime? Do I see my kids growing up in this country? I think if you asked all our parents and grandparents and the parents before them, they'd all just said yes, categorically, absolutely. When I'm sat here now going, do I think I will die in this country? I go, it's probably 50-50, because I've got a strong feeling this will happen before that, and hence I am not going to have my wealth stolen by this government. I want it to go to my children, so I will leave to
pay your fair share.
That wealth. You what?
Pay your fair share. That
I
is
fucking pay my fair share already, cunt.
that is the propaganda at the moment. The wealth tax and pay your fair share. That's a phrase which I couldn't think of earlier. It's going through the media. It's going through everything. Like I said, the wealth tax is coming. Pay your fair share. I think what's fair is about 10%, really.
The fucking
And
wealth
then the-
tax is all. I can guarantee you, I have paid more tax than about 100,000 people in this country put together. They go fuck off.
If anyone's watched the early episodes, I remember Mr. Orlin buying a house, obviously paying the taxes to buy the house, which is stamp duty in the UK. Then the following year, he had to sell more Bitcoin because he sold Bitcoin to buy the house. He had to sell more Bitcoin to pay the capital gains. Then the following year, he had to sell more Bitcoin to pay the capital gains. How many years did that go on for?
I think it was 3, yeah. Before it got below the 12, but it's a good job they didn't reduce it to 3 at that point, because otherwise I think it'd have been about 5 years of me paying tax all on an original house purchase, and because I had to sell Bitcoin to pay for the house, then
But yeah, capital gains are tax which is made so that when your investments appreciate from inflation, which are taking off your wages and cash savings, they tax you on that of the money which they inflate. One of the most insane taxes ever.
yeah,
That leaves us to the last story.
it is indeed the last story. Got a little top one. Apparently, this is Drake. Didn't realize this is his name on Instagram, Champagne Pappy. I don't know if it actually is or not.
Yeah, that's
Is that him? Yeah. So this is his safe and full of $100 bills. Saifedean has retweeted it, going, "Have fun staying poor."
him.
And I did like the fact that someone did ask Grok down here roughly how much is in here, and it went, they're all $100 bills, assuming they're all the same. It worked out how many stacks there were. He basically went, there's about $6 million there. So he's got $6 million sat in a safe. And and obviously do it to flex, and I'm sure 6 million isn't that much to Drake, but that's a lot of money just to let rot. You're probably losing between 500,000 to 1 million a year in inflation.
Yeah.
So, if he leaves that in there for 10 years to go, just in case anything happens, I've got some getaway money type thing. So, well, in 10 years, maybe when you come to use that, you're like, I've got 6 mil. That's easy enough to get set up somewhere and live there for a decade. Well, no, probably have the spending power about 10% of that.
Exactly.
You barely ready to get a flight out the country for 6 mil in a decade. So,
What's fascinating is Drake's Canadian too. So he's got US dollars instead as well.
Well, it's going to be the last currency, man.
Yeah.
because basically, which one is it easier to leave the country with? Because obviously he's holding cash for a reason, right? Why would you hold that much cash? Do you want to be leaving with this?
Good.
A washer in your pocket that is inflation proof and will only keep continuing to increase in value. Super easy to take with you. It's on a washer, or you want to take a safe, which, to be honest, that amount of paper, like putting that in a bag, it's probably too heavy to carry, isn't it? Like
Yeah.
$6 million in
That's a suitcase.
I've seen the films where they are realistic with how much money weighs, and it's surprising. Yeah, I think the average person can't carry much more than between 1 and 2 million, before that bag's too heavy to sensibly hold. And remember, you've got to get through this through passport control. So if you're really, really struggling with this bag, you're not allowed more than $10,000 through.
He might be all right. He might have the private jet.
But it's also chances. If you're in that kind of situation where you do have to flee, you have to flee with that money. Then I suppose the point is that money is either America's in shit. What are you going to buy with it? Because the dollar's no longer redeemable. You want to change that to gold bars. You're not moving anywhere quickly, are you?
Yeah, but the fact that Safe's jumped on this and then said that to him, and a lot of people won't. I'll say, not a lot of people will know who Safe is, but the ones that do, they know.
Yeah, because the thing is, like, this makes me think is if he's got 6 million in cash, how much has he got just in his bank account?
Mm.
I guess he's probably got a couple of 100 million, probably just sat there in the bank account.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And you
Yeah.
just go, Christ, Drake. Hey, you've obviously been super successful. You've made a lot of money, but inflation is between 10 and 20% a year. You're probably losing 10, 15 million a year of spending power.
Yeah.
Into Bitcoin, bro. You just convert it all into Bitcoin and well, you'll be up there with Elon Musk soon enough. He'll be one of the richest guys on the planet if he became a proper Bitcoiner.
I mean, yeah, I was going to say, I think
He
he
dabbles,
does.
doesn't he?
Yeah, he does dabble because he's got Drake and Stake, the betting company as well, and I would imagine that he's well up on that. But like, I forget the name of the American footballer that decided to take all of his wages in Bitcoin, but ultimately, this is what all of these guys should be doing. I mean, Drake is in. I would say yeah, let's say top 10 because he's not the top, but he's in the top 10 of rappers in terms of financially. So he's not going broke anytime soon.
Yeah.
Anytime soon. You know, his catalog is very long. And funnily enough, just this time last week, my daughter, the eldest, like she went to go and see Drake, and for bog standard seats, it was £170 per ticket. And the arena was full, and it was, multiple nights at the 20,000 seater arena. He ain't going broke anytime soon.
Well, yeah. But just all I think Bitcoiners are saying is
Yeah,
you're making so much money. Put it into an asset that's good. You're going to look after it. Why hold all this money in a safe? And basically every year, one of your gigs
yeah,
evaporates. You might as well have
yeah,
not done it. That one's written off because people in the Federal Reserve printed it and kept the money for themselves instead. We just
yeah,
it and kept it. So now the spending power of your money is worth less and less and less. So essentially just keeping cash is just a low IQ move. You've got to keep it in Bitcoin. But
yeah,
as we know, the average normie, they think cash is king. Having a nice big number in your bank balance and getting 2 or 3% interest every year is fantastic. You go, well, it's not because inflation's 10 to 15 to 20. So yeah, don't hold it in cash, boys and girls. Unless you're Drake, and then you probably don't give a fuck.
Dr. Evil 10%, you're a big cash lover. You still doing that? Or are you all in?
Do you mean glory hole lover or cash?
I'll say I don't have much cash. I've got a rainy day fund, and that's it.
Yeah,
What's that?
that'd
Everything's
be
just
large.
About 80% of your portfolio.
Yeah, that'd be large.
just in case I want to go on a cocaine binge.
Yeah.
He doesn't invest more than 10%, does he? So
No, exactly.
that must be cash.
Exactly. I mean, I forgot his name, but he's the guy. Oh, what's his book called? The something about money, the psychology of money. That guy who wrote the book, he's all about cash, and I'm like, why? But it also fascinates me that the likes of Berkshire Hathaway, Apple, Facebook, they still hold large stores of cash as assets on their balance sheet.
Yeah.
And obviously they can afford to because they literally have billions. But still, they're not deploying that cash that could therefore make a lot more greater returns. And Saylor's given them the playbook, which just makes me think, I know you guys are in the same circles. Do something with it.
Do you know, I saw a great tweet today, right? So, oh fuck, I've just forgotten his name. Michael Burry
Yeah,
from The Big Short, who basically
yeah,
like the housing crisis coming in 2008. and shorted it. Was one of the few guys that actually did it, and basically made a fortune, right? But his fortune that he made on that amounted to 700 million. That's how much he made by spotting the financial crash happening and shorting it. Michael Saylor has spotted the inflation travesty coming and hence societal collapse, and has backed his company with Bitcoin, and that is his biggest trade. So far, he's made 30 billion. And it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
The crash hasn't happened. So that's just to put things in perspective, because obviously a lot of years have gone by as well. It's nearly 20 years difference. So guess what? Inflation straight away skews the numbers, because 700 million back then is probably worth 10 billion now. Who knows? But still, he had to take a huge risk and actually directly have to time exactly when the financial collapse happened. Very, very difficult. And if you watch The Big Short, great film, Brad Pitt, Margaret Robbie, whole shebang, A-lister film, brilliant film, actually articulates the story perfectly as well. It doesn't hold any punches, completely throws the bankers and governments under the bus, rightly so. Don't know why.
Still makes me wonder how Hollywood even passed that, but that's another story as well.
Well, I think the fact is nothing fucking happens at the end of it, does it? There's no big revolution where everyone suddenly stops wanting to put their money in the bank. Everyone just carried on. Everyone watched the film.
Satire is amazing.
And went on with their day, didn't they? It's like, where's the best to hide your secrets? Just in plain sight. Just make a fucking film about it, and everyone will go, well, that can't be true. Well, it is. It literally says it's a true story at the beginning of the film. But anyway, it's like, so it's very, very hard what Michael Burry did to time the exact collapse. The beautiful thing about Bitcoin is you don't need to know when the collapse is going to happen. All you need to believe in is that the existing system is collapsing. So just swap your money. And the sooner you swap the money, the better your trade is. But you don't need to time it. None of us know. How that's why I think whenever when's it going to be $1 million Bitcoin, every single time since I think I've been in Bitcoin, the prediction has been in 10 years. Now I've been in Bitcoin for nearly a decade now, and I'm pretty sure when I came in, they went in 10 years time it's going to be 1 million. Right. So it's we always say it's going to be 10 years. So I think it's actually going to be a lot sooner in reality. I think everyone just says 10 years just to give themselves some buffer. It's probably going to be in the next 5, I would say, based on the acceleration of everything that's happening. And but it doesn't matter. You don't need to know when it hits 1 million. It's 100K now. Fucking buy it. And at some point between now and 10 years, it's going to hit there. But it's not going to just jump overnight. It's going to go 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800. It's going to have some regression. Then it's going to have some peaks again. You don't need to time the market. Just bet against the financial system. Essentially, you're shorting the financial system by buying Bitcoin. And the beautiful thing is, whilst that financial system keeps going up, which is just what made Michael Burry's bet so hard to stick in with, because when he bet on the financial market collapsing, he was about a year too early. So the market kept going up and up and up. And he nearly went bankrupt by having to pay all the fees and keep stacking money on top of the bet that he'd made, because they were basically going to liquidate him and the trade was going to be null and void. And then like a couple of months later, he would have been right, but he was out of the trade because he'd been wrong for too long. And to a certain extent, you could almost say that about Bitcoiners. We've said the financial system is going to collapse for the last 15 years. Well, it's at all-time highs. So technically you could go, we're mugs. We're wrong. The financial system has never been better. Look, S&P 500's up, the FTSE's up, everything is a fucking booming. You go, yeah, it is booming on bollocks. It's a big Ponzi scheme. They keep printing so much. They keep filling all the void and all the corruption and all the freaking lack of efficiency that is in this system. They're just flooding it with cash to make it look like it's booming. So, but hence why Bitcoin has gone from a valueless piece of magic internet money to being worth $120,000 per coin now. So you didn't need to time it. Just predicting that it was going to collapse at some point has made a lot of people very, very rich. And you can just continue to do that by by just opting out, buy Bitcoin and not have to worry about when it collapses. Just know you can just sleep safe at night, that you've got a couple of washers sat in a safe somewhere that are storing that Bitcoin nice and safe. And when the time
Couple of
comes,
washers.
and when the time comes, you're going to be golden, and you can't get liquidated. No one can shake you out of this trade. You swap your fiat into Bitcoin, and there's no bank going, the S&P 500's up 20% again. You're fucking wrong. You need to give us more money for your short position. You go, no. My short isn't with you, Mr. Bank. It's with Mr. Satoshi. I brought some sats. I'm good. I sleep soundly at night.
Yeah.
So there you go. There's a nice little rant to end the pod.
Love it. Right. Well, on that note, thank you very much, Mr. All-In, aka the $1 Trillion Man, Dr. Evil 10%, aka the People's Champ, myself, Sir Nevelup, aka the Excellence of Execution, and no surprise, no surprise, Mrs. No Show, nowhere to be seen on Pod 178, potentially our last, because everyone is potentially our last.
It's going to be the last for 2 weeks anyway.
Yeah. Peace out.